I'm very privileged to sit next to you now, Nandan. Right? You are an Indian entrepreneur. You're a serial entrepreneur. You're the co-founder of Infosys, the Indian tech and IT giant, which is spreading through the world, not just in India. You're a book author. You actually supported many, many initiatives which were important for the development of India. You have a lot of philanthropic activities, and you were also in politics. So that's quite a number of activities you did in your life. So, and as we only have short time, we think maybe only reduce it to 3 key blocks, right? Because the first block is more on the world, and the two latter ones maybe on India and the Indian perspective. So my first question to you is really, the world is getting more and more polarized, and you get irritated by certain actions from many, many players, right? And what is your current view of the world? So what is happening?
Says no, uncertainty is on the rise. So I think that's very clear. And it's not the settled environment we had for a long time. But I think everybody, whether it's a firm, whether it's a country, whether it's an individual, has to figure out a new way to deal with this uncertainty and make their way forward. So I think we should just get on with it, knowing that this is the way it's going to be. So I don't spend too much time moaning about how it is. I'd rather say, okay, what do we need to do to go forward in this environment?
Well, I traveled first time to India 25 years back, and I always felt that people in India have kind of this inbuilt stress relief module that you can take situations as they are.
That's
and
right.
then move on.
Also good at dealing with chaos. The more chaotic it is, we're better at it.
That's, well, the Europeans should take some leaning on that, right? But maybe go then to India. I think in the last 10 years, I think there were 2 very instrumental initiatives in the digital part of India, which I found astonishing. That was the digital identity part, and that was also the digital payment, because it actually allowed many, many citizens in India to have access to public services, which were not possible before. You were also involved in that. Could you give us an outline what happened and what has been done in India? Because I'm not sure whether everybody knows what actually has been achieved there.
Sure. Actually, it began 15 years back in 2009, at which time I was at Infosys. I had a good job, corner office, overlooking a golf course. So I was in good shape. And then I got this call to join the government to issue an ID to everyone. Because Indians didn't have ID because they didn't have birth certificates. And it was obviously you have to be slightly crazy to do these things, but I did take it up. I went to Delhi and worked there for 5 years and built a very advanced digital ID system for Indians. And this is a challenge of giving a unique ID for 1.3 billion people. So it's not a small thing. And but I managed to get to 600 million people by the time I stepped down. And then I had a very good meeting with Prime Minister Modi, who's a very good understanding of technology. So he's been the biggest champion. And so today, every Indian has a digital ID. It works online. It's on the cloud. You can authenticate online. It's used about 80 million times a day. So it's really very fundamental to, and in the AI world, it's good for proving that you're a human being. It has a lot of value. So I think that was one thing. And then using that, we dramatically increased banking and financial inclusion. So 700 million people opened bank accounts using the ID as the know your customer. We had a massive increase in mobile penetration, 4G, 5G, over 1 billion phones now. So the notion that in the new digital economy, if you have a digital ID, if you have a bank account that works anywhere in the country online, and if you have a mobile phone which works at 4G or 5G speeds anywhere, then those are the tools of the modern era. So we did that over the last 15 years. And this is something which was built at population scale, so it had to be for 1.3 billion people. It had to be low cost, it had to be open and interoperable, it had to be inclusive, so everybody could participate. So a lot of thought went into how do you architect technology, not as an extractive approach, but an inclusive approach. And that's really what we have done. And I did that in the government, and that continued, but subsequently, there's an organization called NPCI, which runs India's payments, so I was an advisor to them. So then we took on the challenge of building a digital payment platform for India. It's called UPI. It was launched about 8 years back. Today it does 17 billion transactions a month. It has about 400 million users and 50 million merchants where payments are made in real time. So this has transformed India's digital payments. So if you walk on the street, there'll be a lady selling vegetables. She'll take a digital payment. She doesn't want cash. She wants a digital payment. So I think we changed the whole notion of how technology is useful for people. And we've done many more things, but one thing I'll add to this is that, and unlike, again, in the normal model where data is used and aggregated and sold to you, we have made data available to every person. So we empower people with their own data. So if you're this small merchant who's selling and you're taking UPI payments, then you have a record of sales. And then you can take that record of sales to show that you're worthy of credit and get a loan from the bank. So this whole idea is that data should be in the hands of the people, not in some aggregator's hands. So I think all this has transformed the country. At the same time, India has become a single market for everything. You know, we have implemented a goods and services tax system. The Prime Minister really pushed for that. I designed the tech backbone for that also. And now we have a single market for all products, and everything is online, everything is paid electronically to the bank. We have a single market for services, we have a single market for banking, single market for telecom, free migration internally. So it's a genuinely liquid single market, where so it's a continental size, billion people single market, and that's helping in the economic growth.
It's amazing, right? So many people in such a short time, But I think we can probably consider this as a critical infrastructure, right? So how do you keep it safe and secure?
Oh, I think that's a huge thing, and a huge part of the thinking and architecture was how to make it safe, how to make it minimal. We don't want this to do things it shouldn't be doing. So how do you do it minimal? How do you do it in a way that every system is optimally ignorant of the next system? In the sense, it's the danger in all these things, you end up creating panopticons which collect data. So none of our systems actually collect data. Our ID system does not collect data. It just does an authentication to say John is John. But if John opens a bank account, that information is in the banking system, not in the ID system. There's a lot of architectural things to make that happen, and so privacy was a big thing. Security, cyber risk, more and more. The entire ID system is not on the internet. It's completely, you can only access it through 2 APIs. You can't really go and check it out. So a whole host of things that were thought through to make sure that you could do at scale without compromising security.
When I was last time in India, that was in October last year, I got the notion that India is putting a lot of weight onto AI as well. So if you look a little bit to the future, the next decade, what are the 1, 2, 3, eventually 4 things coming up in India which we can expect?
Well, I firmly believe that India will be the AI use capital of the world. I also believe that LLMs are a commodity. So I'm not going to spend my time doing the next LLM. I think maybe I don't know what people believe, but that's what I believe. Let these guys duke it out and spend money. That's their problem. But I think we will actually put this to real use. Now, there are 3 or 4 use cases that are very obvious to us. First is language. India is a country like Europe. It has 22 official languages and a few hundred languages and dialects, and many of them don't have a written script and so on. So we are building the full AI data for Indian languages, so that, and we can train any model with that data, which allows people to speak in the language of their choice. So this suddenly dramatically expands access, because if you're a farmer in a small village and the only language you know is Hindi, you can speak to the computer in Hindi and get your knowledge or whatever. So language is a big thing, because if you can make language accessible in your language, then changes everything. The second big thing is related is agriculture. How do we harness all the agricultural knowledge and make it accessible to farmers? Because India still is a very large farming country. It has its low productivity. How do you raise productivity and so on? And then, of course, education, because even now many of our kids are not properly educated. So if you can use AI to amplify education. So we are seeing it from very practical, usable, at scale, to change lives, So that's the thinking. So we will be, in the next 4 to 5 years, you're going to see some very serious AI use cases, and our Prime Minister is very solid on this, and he understands the balance between regulation and innovation and all the stuff that they talked about.
Not sure why you're laughing now.
So I think AI will see some very useful use cases.
So, and when we talked briefly before, you talked also about the Finternet. What's your thought on that?
Well, I just, I co-wrote a paper with Augustin Carstens, or BIS, which is in Basel, which is how do you build an architecture for tokenizing all assets in the world in a way that is completely compliant with regulatory frameworks. Because today what has happened is we have all this technology of public chains and cryptography and immutability of transactions and all that, but that's being used in a very cryptocurrency kind of a way, which is outside the system. But if you can use that technology but build within the system ways to make assets tokenized and trade in them, then you could have dramatic economic impact. So that's a paper which we published a few months back. It's being a lot of interest globally, and we hope to have a few use cases in the coming year.
So when you outline all these ideas, here a lot of European firms, also America, a little bit of Asia, less of India yet. I think we have to make sure that more Indian companies join in here.
Sure.
What is your advice to companies here to participate in the opportunities in the Indian market?
Well, I think India is going to be a country which will consistently grow in the next couple of decades. Even today, it's growing at 5 to 6%. The actual growth rate may vary, but it's going to be a growing economy. As I said, it's a complete single market. It has digital infrastructure for efficiency, productivity, and so on. And also, when we design this digital infrastructure, we design it for innovation on top of it. So today, the market value of companies built on top of this ID and payments and all that is over $100 billion. So these are companies that use this infrastructure to create services. So we have essentially taken the philosophy of the internet, which is a public infrastructure with private innovation, and applied it to modern needs. So I think it's a good place. It's also in most sectors, it's a free market. I mean, technology, pharmaceuticals, consumer products, they're all free market economies in some, so anyone can come and participate.
So, but would you need an Indian partner, or is it better to do it on your own?
Depends. I mean, many people come on their own. Some people, the big guys typically come on their own, but smaller companies that don't have the wherewithal to invest on the ground may come with partners. You can do either.
Well, thank you for actually bringing in your thoughts on India, and I hope you took something. I took AI at scale for people.
Yeah.
I think this is a very powerful formula. But maybe to close with a little bit on yourself, you do a lot of philanthropic activities with your wife. What is the thing closest to your heart?
Well, I think education is a big thing, because I think I'm a product of education, and therefore I want to pay forward. So I do a lot of philanthropy in education, building new universities, supporting existing universities, children from AI, and so on and so forth. But there's one other thing I want to mention, which I'm very excited about, which is the digital energy grid. And I was in Paris this week, and we co-released a paper with IEA on what should the energy grid of the future look like. Because we know that there's going to be millions of points of production. Every home will have a rooftop solar and a car sitting, the EV car. So everybody is a producer, consumer, buyer, seller, storer of energy in the millions. So it requires a completely radically different way of thinking about the grid. And right now, people are building point solutions for each thing, like one for EV charging, one for P2P, one for demand flexibility, one for distributed resources. But underlying all that, can there be a unifying protocol? So that's what we have worked on. And I think that will have a huge impact on the energy transition.
Thank you very much. I think we are both respectful of the yellow and the red card.
That's
right?
right.
So thank you very much for all the insights you gave us.
Thank you.